Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to know your city. Thank you to Antidote. It has been a pleasure to know all the work that you are doing. Yeah, let's begin first for our name that is really difficult to pronounce here. It's Metzineres. Metzineres is a Catalan word that talks about the women that were considered witches in the Middle Age for using plants as a remedy or as a poison. They were using the same plants that now are in the base of the modern pharmacology. But how they were using these plants? They were thinking about health in a community point of view, like not just thinking about the lack of pain, but about the wellness. They were using the plants also to control their sexual health, not having kids, for example. Then what happened is that with the modern medicine take away this power from the women. And for who? For men that are high class, that can read, and also that understand the health as the lack of pain, not as the wellness. Then we thought that the way that the women from Metzineres are using the drugs are really similar how the Metzineres, and especially what is similar is the stigma that is on them. From the Middle Ages, they began to be criminalized for this knowledge, for using and for self-organizing their health and also the health of their communities. They were criminalized and also sexualized. Is the same that is going on right now. The stigma against women who use drugs is really similar right now. And of course, the women are using drugs. They plant drugs, and it's really different if you produce the drugs in Asia or in South America than if you produce the drugs where you are in the States, for example. These are not nuns. It's like a community just. Also, they sell drugs. Everybody knows who is Pablo Escobar? Yeah? Somebody knows who is her? She's the one that was showing everything that Pablo Escobar knows about how to move drugs from one place to another. She was already in Florida moving the cocaine in her heels before Pablo Escobar. What says is that women also know how to relate with drugs, sometimes in a better way than men. They are more successful. Also, we use drugs, and normally we take more care when we use drugs. And we know that most of the people that use drugs, they don't have problems with drugs. They use that recreationally for health issues, and for women, it's exactly the same. Still, they are more criminalized than men. Here, a short video that we say about the consequences of the war on drugs on women. It's really simple, and comes from an international conference where women from all the continents, and we saw that the consequences are really similar.
Eres miedo, eres llanto, eres todo lo que canto y cuento. Abajo el gobierno, rápido y lento. Los días que nos pasan y nos pisan. Adiós sonrisas, la sensación de abrigos y sonrisas. Nos quitamos las camisas, nos dormimos, nos inventamos, nos encontramos, pero ante todo te añoramos. Una vida, una ida sin vuelta, envuelta en la pérdida como la ruina. Eres miedo, dolor, amor, recuerdos, como un vaso sin hielo, como besar el mar muerto. Y ya sabes que lo siento, es ese llanto que nos guarda en la despedida, y así serás. Agua, viento, sol y libertad, y libertad, y libertad. Abrimos el pulmón y lloramos por la libertad. Eres ese miedo que tanto he tenido, eres ese llanto que tanto he sufrido, eres todo lo que he cantado y ahora, amigo, te digo al cielo, las manos al cielo, al cielo, las manos al cielo, al cielo. Esa sensación que recorre mi intestino crudo cambia.
Thank you. These are the tools that we are trying to use. The women that sings also is part of Metzineres, struggling also with mental health issues. What we found is I began in Barcelona in one of the biggest and more medicalized consumption rooms 20 years ago. And in Barcelona, really similar than here, we have everything. We have drug checking, we have consumption rooms, the methadone programs are really accessible. Still, women and gender and non-binary gender people are not arriving to these places. First of all, because they are mostly male focused. Women represent around 85%, similar than here, as I was asking these days. And also because they are not focused on the needs of the women. They don't respond of why women are having problems related with the drug use, how they relate with the drug use, and also they don't become safe spaces for them. Sometimes they have to share with the same people that try to rape them the night before. And also where the women address to services for to face the violence that they are suffering, they are also rejected because they are using drugs. The same for mental health programs, the same for some shelters, for example. Then they don't have any other place to go. All of these, and when they have place to go, sometimes they are also framed in a control, a try of social control that really paternalistic, more than when the services are projected for men. Then we decided, of course, everything has as a consequence that they don't have any place to go, that also the stigma and the prejudice make their rights totally vulnerable. It's because that in 2016, after I was really lucky, I was able to live in Colombia for 3 years, in Vancouver also for 3 years, and know a lot about different places around the world. Then when I came back to Barcelona, I saw that the same women that I was working with 20 years ago, they were still in the same place, or worse. They had all the services, and I'm not talking about just women, also a lot of men. Because what we have been done is chronifying the situation of vulnerability. We focus on drugs, and we don't see that the person is a lot of more. Then it's because that we began the network of women who use drugs. For my surprise, was the first time that some women had a space to talk with other women and share strategies. The first thing that I ask is what are you using drugs? And they began to say, I'm stupid, I shouldn't do that. It's like, I see that you are really smart women and you are really resourceful. Why you are using drugs? I'm not judging you, or anybody here is judging you. Why we are using drugs? And they began to feel comfortable and talk about that they were feeling lonely, that they wanted a community, that also they had been surviving violence since they remember. And we began to see that they are not using drugs for nothing. They are using drugs in a way that is not harmful for them, that in fact is a solution or is for their trauma. And also that this network that we were meeting every Tuesday was the first time that we're looking at each other, being able to share strategies of survival. And drug use was one of these strategies to survive. After 1 year, we had a little bit of money, not a lot, and we were able to open Metzineres. That Metzineres is the first non-profit cooperative for women surviving violence, trying to build these environments of shelter for women. I wouldn't say women, I would say no men, because a lot of fluid gender people also coming in here, and also we wanted to focus not in the needs of the people, but also in the human rights. We are not talking about doing assistantialism, we are talking about activism, because we are fighting for the rights of the people. How we do is like trying to put the people in the center, but at the same time trying to focus in each person that is entering in the space. With really flexible response, we don't have any rules. All of them are welcome, and they are not barred. They can do whatever they want, and they are not barred. This is a challenge. But we never expel anybody from the services. Also, we have like these flexible responses because we don't have rules. We don't follow a lot of rules, and we can do whatever we want, and whatever it works, that is more important. Taking into account not the needs, but the expectations, the desires, the dreams of the women. Because if we go just to the needs, it's where you begin, but it's not, there is no way to go for that, no? You need to think about the future in that sense. With it being part of the neighborhood, we are neighbors, then we are not, sometimes we had these arguments that, oh, the neighbors, blah, blah, blah. We are living in the neighborhood, we make money in the neighborhood, we sleep in the neighborhood, then we are part of the community. And because of stigma, we just need to be the best neighbors ever. Then we are doing our best in that sense. Also, in Barcelona, you know that we have a strong social movement. Then we wanted to make sure that we are talking about the impact of the war on drugs and not the impact of the drugs. Then this is activism. This is like, have to be part of the social movements there. This is also part of our struggles to be part of this social and solidarity-based economies, because that we become a cooperative and not an association or a collective or this. And also, we didn't have a lot of money, then we had to be really sure that what we were doing was working, was pragmatic, was cost-effective. How we did that, or what are the principles that guide us? Genuine creativity. We have been having harm reduction programs for more than 20 years, and they are chronifying a lot of the situation of exclusion. Then we need to think a little bit further of the traditional harm reduction. Radical tenderness. All the women that come to Metzineres, they know that tomorrow they're going to be welcome. Doesn't matter what happened, but they're going to be welcome. Collective resilience. We cannot talk about the individual change if we are not talking about solidarity and collective support. Roig courage. We didn't follow the rules. If not, we couldn't open. We didn't ask for permit. We just opened a place. Now that we have more than 450 women, we are not asking for pardon, but asking for a building, because we are in a double garage. Activism of care, because sometimes when we are talking about social economy, we are not taking into account the care. Complicity and mutual support. When you enter to Metzineres, you don't know who is working, who is the staff, who are their participants, because all of us are bringing the knowledge that we have. Some of us are academical knowledge, others are like life experience, and all together make the best to go or to improve this complex situation. Anti-prohibitionism commitment, because everything that is prohibited, you cannot see that, you cannot do anything with that. It's just more precariousness. Then we really think that as soon, while we have the war on drugs, we always gonna have to be implementing harm reduction, not for the drugs, but for the war on drugs. Evidence-based, we are not inventing the wheel. We had I was lucky to be able to go around and to learn a lot from different projects. Then what we put in Barcelona was just put in place these good practices in this privileged place like in Barcelona, that we don't have drug use criminalized, that we have all these social movements, that we have cooperatives, etc. Then we need to use our privilege to push a little bit what we are doing, because if not, we are part of the system that is fucked up. Sorry, my English is totally worse, but you can understand me, I guess. And transformative passion. We want to go to the structural causes of inequality. It's not enough to go just for isolated factors or to reduce the harms or drugs. We really need to go to get involved in social movements to change the system. And Metzineres welcome all the women that wants to enter. You will see that we don't have any front desk or anything. They come, they visit. If they like what they see, they can get involved. But also what we saw when we began to check what women are coming is that the real problem are not the drug-related problems, but you can see that there are a lot of different circumstances that make their life difficult. And I will go, for example, for roofless. We have around 70% of women that are literally living in the streets, no shelter, no hostels, anything. But when we see how many women don't have a safe place to stay, that they are like exchanging sex for a house, etc., all these numbers go up, and we are around 85% of homeless women. Also, if we see, for example, like sex work or survival sex, the numbers are really high also. Like the migratory experience, racialization, transphobia, LGBTQ phobia, all of these are factors that are really impacting the lives of the women. And in that sense, we cannot say that are just drug problem related, but these are the relationship with the problems. Also, transfer or loss of custody. Like sometimes we have in mind that most of the women have taken, that the children were taken away. This is not true. Most of the women give away the custody when they see that they cannot be good mothers. In that sense, we also try to break the stigma in that sense. These are the population that we have, between 35 visits and 45 visits a day. It's not visits. They arrive at 2 and they leave when we close, that is at night in the morning. At night. The kind of drugs that they use, and we did this distinction about current use and problematic drug use, because we know that for a lot of the people that come to Metzineres, they use one drug to avoid sometimes the secondary effects of other drugs, or just to face the problems that they have every day, just to be awake, to sleep in the streets. For example, then we cannot talk about problematic drug use. For example, with some stimulants, when you are sleeping in the street, what is more problematic? Sleeping in the, like, take your methamphetamine or be sleeping at night and being raped. Like, this is the reality that they are facing. They're talking about problematic drug use. Sometimes it's not so clear, or good or bad. Then these are all the substances that they are using, more or less. As you can see, for example, with methadone. Methadone in Spain is super accessible. Like, the doses that you can have with methadone are super high. A lot of the women think that their use of methadone is problematic. And it's not for the drug. Again, it's for the drug policy that is around methadone. If they are late, they don't have the dose. If they want to lower their dose, because the problem that we have is that the doses of methadone are so high, they cannot go down because the doctor don't allow them. Then all of these are barriers to these drugs. And as we see, it's not the problem with drugs, it's the problem with the drug policy again. what we really think is that one of the biggest problems that all the women that come from Metzineres survive multiple situations of violence and exclusion, but especially violence. They are overrepresented of the violence during childhood, also during adulthood, not just for their partners, but also neighbors, also friends, also like from institutional and structural violence, like criminalization from the police, from the judges, in prison. They have less programs if they go in prison. They don't have treatment access in a lot of places. They don't have harm reduction services for sure. And social and health care, like they go to the doctor and all the stigma make them really difficult just to seek for support, the support that they need. How we do that? We take the person-centered approach from a freedom of redefinition. Is the person who decides what they need, and we just need to work with them in whatever is important for them. We just try to accompany them. Supporting them as a central role of the women, they influence all the politics that we are doing. They are part of the design, the implementation, the monitoring, and the evaluation of everything that we do. We began that from the network of women who use drugs. And it was from the network who use drugs that we designed what we needed, and it's what we are doing. And the money, because we don't have money enough to do everything that we need to do. But also we are trying not just make sure that they are part of all the decision making that we take, but also that they are present and they are taken into account into all the politics, like around homelessness, about now, for example, we are part of the mental health, perinatal health program that they are doing in Catalonia. Like we are trying to be really part of all the range of plans and politics that are gonna condition their lives. Also, we love activism. We love to go to the streets, and we are trying not just to go to the streets. Like today, they are doing an action in front of the municipality, but also we try to be really present in the rest of the struggle that we have in our neighborhood against gentrification, for example. We are part of that. Also inside the feminist movement, because feminist movements sometimes forget the women that are not more middle class, high class, white, etc., etc., etc. No? Then we try to be really active in all of this. We don't focus in drugs. When you enter, and I will show you some pictures, when you enter to Metzineres, you don't see if it's a consumption room or if it has a consumption room or not. In fact, we don't define ourselves as a consumption room. We are a community space where we have a lot of activities. We do radio, we do, like, this is not like August, we are in vacation. I don't know if you know Spain, but in August nothing happened. And we don't have a lot of workshops in August. But normally we have theater, we have radio, we have the hairdressers, like all, we go everywhere, we go to concerts, we go to festivals if we can. We want to have fun, we want to be like a collective where you can get involved in a lot of different things. Because what we want is that more time that the women are in our place doing activities, they can use inside, but they use less. Because it's just a small part of the daily life. If they can develop the rest, less places have the problematic drug use there. And the drugs that they use are not problematic in sometimes. No? Then what we try to do is like the caring and healing environment, like basic needs. We have food, we have beds, we have like social worker, lawyer, psychologist. Also, we don't talk about peer workers because who is peer and who is not. We take into account the intersectional feminism. No, like all of us are struggling with mental health issues, with LGBTQ exclusion. Like, who is peer and who is not? Then we are talking about community technicians because they are really experts on their community, and this is what gets their involvement really important. Building self-protection and strengthen, like we have like feminist self-defense, but not just that, just to have a space where we can share strategies of survival without being judged is really important. We are part of the community. We have like a lot of community events. We participate in all the community events. On Fridays, normally we have a paella every Friday where we invite the neighbors. Are not them who are inviting us. Everybody is welcome. If you are in Barcelona, any Friday, just write us and you can come for paella. And we try to be productive. We go to a market every month to sell our stuff. We are not good making money, but we do our best. And the participation and activism, art and creativity. As you could hear from Tanya, we have a lot of artists inside our group. Then it's really important to give room for that. These are some of the pictures. I don't know if it works. Oh, no. Focus. Maybe you have to put the play. Yeah. This is our entrance. As you can see, you cannot see that you see a community space with activities. You cannot see a front desk. The women come, we introduce ourselves. This is our wall where they share the strategies of survival. Some of them are not politically correct, but they are there, they use them, then we don't get into that. Like, you don't see any kind of poster saying, don't do that, inject that way, don't inject that way. Like, we give this advice when the people ask for it. These are the showers. These are the flea clothes for the women. Beds, we are not open during the night. This is during the day just to have a nap because this is our consumption room or makeup room and our nurse station. This is our patio that also is our smoking room. As I told you, this is a double garage. Like we don't have a lot of space, like washing machine. And this is our patio also. You can see everything happens there. Like our outreach wall, that is always women from the community going there. And this is our wall of memory. Today, that the International Awareness Day for overdose. And really important because when you have someone in the streets, a lot of times you don't have any way to remember them when they are not here anymore. This is our paella and our nice chef for the paella. The radio that we do. This is a community space that is run by the neighbors. Then we are part of that. We do a lot of actions in the middle just to make visible that we need to change drug policy, but also that we are part of this neighborhood. This is in the feminist demonstration of this year when we are trying to make visible women using drugs and surviving multiple situations of vulnerability. And maybe this is all. You can see. I told you that we didn't ask for permit to open. Then for us was really important to show that what we are doing is working. But we didn't want to do that asking a lot of questions. First of all, because when you ask a question, the first thing, when the women come, most of what they're gonna say is not true. Like they have been going through from one social worker to another social worker to another social worker. They know exactly what they have to say. Then doesn't make any sense. Like we want, and also because we fail them, like as a service provider, we fail them. Then they are not the ones that have to show us that they are valid to come. We need to show them that what we are doing is useful for them. Like if not, doesn't make any sense. Then first is like we introduce ourselves, we explain what we are doing, and they are the ones that decide what they want to share with us, when they want to share that, how and with who. And of course, we spend a lot of time after that going to our database that we built with them to systematize the information, because we don't want to re-traumatize them and ask over and over the same questions or the same issues. And if you came yesterday and you explained me that you had a hard situation, my coworker gonna be there, and tomorrow gonna see that you explain me that. But we don't spend 1 minute in front of the computer while we are talking with you. I'm an anthropologist. Then I come from this mentality that like questionnaires are not really useful. I think that spending time together is more useful. Then we respect, and also because it's a human rights, we need to respect the privacy, the intimacy of everybody, and normally when we are in consumption rooms, not always this is respected. Like we talk with other services, like, oh, this person has HIV, he is in treatment or he is not, but we don't take into account if that person want to share with you all the information that they have. Then for us, this was really, really important. Also, as I told, because we respect their, the time that they need to share to trust us, and if they don't trust, we don't need to have any kind of information around that. But we systematize that because really it's really important to know what we are doing is working or not, because we don't want to damage anybody that is already suffering so much from the reality that they are living. But also, we want to change everything that is not working really fast. Like we don't have money, then we cannot spend money in things that are not working. And also, they have been invisible. Like most of the information that we have around women doesn't come from the reality. Gives some information that is interesting for the institution, like how many needles they have, how many needles they take. If I see how many needles they are using, I want to know how they live their motherhood, why they are suffering right now, how we can break the cycle of violence that they are living. These are the other questions. We need to know how the social politics impacts their life. And these are not the questions that the data that we are collecting right now is giving us. Then we develop this database that is also open source, that we can change it. We are building the database all the time with new indicators that come from their needs, their life, and what shows that is important for them. In that sense, and also is online, then we don't have to expect like the 2 years that the institutions take to publish a data that is already obsolete when it comes there. We need to know what is changing in the neighborhood, how we do that, etc. And also we really check the data every week. We have meetings every week with all the team, and we check the data that we are collecting. It's not data that is there just to justify the grants at the end of the year, but it's something that we really use in our routine. Also, we do research, training, consultancy. I'm going to leave some of this material there as soon as we end. How we do that, and I really like the cannabis as a harm reduction tool material, because what we did in that sense is like we were like a few months asking the women why were they using cannabis, because we saw that they were using cannabis a lot. In our place, I didn't say that they can use whatever drug they want. Alcohol, cannabis, benzos, legal, illegal, we don't care. Then we saw that the women were using cannabis, but they didn't know exactly why they didn't know the knowledge that they really had about it. Then we were collecting why. They were talking about endometriosis, they were talking about using cannabis to reduce the cravings, to reduce the I don't know, the vomiting for the withdrawal. They use the drugs for a lot of different, the cannabis for a lot of different things. We collect that information, and after that we went to the experts, the scientific community. We were to talk with ICER, that is the International Center of Ethnobotanical Studies, Research and Services that are in Catalonia, and we asked if what the women said had evidence-based, scientific whatever, and we found that all the, everything that the women say was in these kind of academic articles that nobody reads because are really boring. And then we saw that all of this had an evidence base, like this knowledge is already there. Like, and what we did is like to put that in a nice language that everybody can understand, really simple. For the women that is more difficult also to read, with this nice illustration, and these are the results. And this is the way that we are that we need to recognize how, as a community, we can be part of this research and how we have to be part of this knowledge. Because also we put some things that are not anywhere, no? But they have a scientific base. We have a drug tarot that is really fun, also was built in the same way, and we are talking about the stigma also here, and also this guy that is around criminalization and the laws that we have. And yeah, we have been recognized as a good practice also for the United Nations, I don't know why, against crimes and drugs. I don't know how we get there, but we are getting there. Then I want to show this video that was done with the neighbors in Metzineres to see the impact.
Somos consumidoras, pero aunque seamos consumidoras no dejamos de ser personas. Nos podemos relacionar, podemos trabajar, podemos tener hijos, podemos tener amantes, podemos tener maridos, podemos poner en una casa, puedo fregar platos y puedo tomarme droga.
Hola, ¿os puedo hacer una pregunta, por favor? ¿Cómo es el trato con la gente que consume droga, la percepción que tenéis ahora? Y la que teníais anteriormente, claro.
Ha sido radicalmente diferente, sí, de alguien que no conocíamos de nada hasta saber los nombres, ¿no?
Reconocernos, de bromear, ser vecinas también, ¿no? Compartir relajadamente un espacio que no nos imaginábamos antes.
Hola Carmen, ¿cómo ha cambiado la opinión de las vecinas desde que se hacen proyectos en conjunto con Metzineres?
Yo creo que es muy positivo. Ahora he tenido la oportunidad de poder estar más cerca de vosotras y aún más veo que los resultados son maravillosos, ¿no? Este confinamiento ha sido muy potente para ver cómo funcionáis y cómo colaboráis entre vosotras y cómo colaboran las vecinas con vosotras, y creo que ha sido maravilloso, ¿no? Entonces, más no puedo decir, estoy encantada con vosotras.
Nosotras estamos encantadas con la mano que tiene Carmen para cocinar, que nos ha aportado ricas comidas y ricos postres. Gracias, Carmen.
¿Ha sido la llegada de Metzineres al barrio con su trabajo comunitario?
Pues mira, yo al principio no sabía muy bien, no lo conocía, cuál era el trabajo que hacían, pero yo creo que es fundamental para las mujeres que usan drogas tener un sitio donde se les acoja, se les cuide, se les mime, la pueda ver el médico. Metzineres ha hecho visible que la gente que usa drogas son gente tan normal como cualquiera, con un problema como cualquiera tiene el suyo. Y que bueno, que lo menos que podemos hacer es apoyarla y darle visibilidad. Yo ahora no veo una drogadicta, veo a Susana, a todas por su nombre, porque las conocemos. Y bueno, a mí me parece que eso ya es un gran cambio.
Gracias por responder.
Dice así, supe construir un lugar donde vivir, así que nadie me va a convencer de que me tengo que ir. No me voy a ir, esta es mi casa. Ven y pasa, miremos desde la terraza. Cuando te miro todo se me pasa. No hay nada contra la fuerza de nuestra raza. Yo te convido si te falta, a mí me sobra mucha
Cortes, ¿qué opinas sobre Metzineres?
Pues que sois un grupo muy alegre, que hacéis cosas muy interesantes, muy buenas para el barrio, para el mundo. Para mí lo importante es que las personas consumidoras o no en general sean dueñas de su cuerpo, de su vida y sobre todo que tengan salud.
¿Y cómo cambia el barrio desde que Metzineres aparece por aquí, por el Ágora?
Cuando entra un colectivo como Metzineres en estos espacios, entramos en contacto personas que igual de otra manera es más difícil. Porque hay prejuicio, porque tenemos miedo, porque no conocemos al otro o a la otra. Y entonces cuesta mucho relacionarte. Y este espacio es fantástico para que nos conozcamos, para que haya esa mirada de ida y de vuelta. Y es fantástico.
Señores y señoras, para mayores de 18 años, rico, rico, fácil, fácil, para toda la familia. Rico vecinaje, Noa al micro.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo está todo, guapa?
¡Ah, no! Soy Luana Monteiro, soy reportera de Metzineres. Estamos aquí en el barrio de Raval para ver cómo los vecinos aceptan la entrada a un nuevo grupo llamado Metzineres.
Me parece un espacio súper bonito y súper necesario en el barrio, porque es una realidad que existe. Son situaciones que te podrían pasar a ti.
¿Qué te gustó más de todo?
Hostia, la energía que hay, el buen rollismo, la sanidad que hay entre vosotras, la sororidad que hay entre vosotras y cómo os cuidáis y cómo os tenéis presentes, teniendo en cuenta que seguramente hay momentos que no habéis estado del todo bien, pero oye...
Nos hemos sentido súper cómodas aquí haciendo un evento con vosotras y haciendo un montón de cosas, que es una forma también de interseccionar muchas luchas, ¿no? O sea, contra la transfobia, contra anticapitalista, antifeminista, contra el estigma de las drogas y claro, que al final sí, estamos todas en la misma lucha.
En el momento que nosotros entramos aquí, había un poco de estigma. Se consumían drogas, si no consumía drogas, ¿qué íbamos a hacer? Cosas así, ¿no?
Sí, bueno, porque de hecho así de primeras a la gente es algo que le tira para atrás. Asocia el consumo de drogas con mala gente. No es así, ¿no? Ya lo demostráis vosotras. Vuestra presencia aquí pues ha hecho que mucha gente pues vea el consumo de drogas de otra manera.
Yo creo que esto tienen que ser ensayos para una futura sociedad realmente libre, donde establezcamos un tipo de relaciones humanas, solidarias, libres, de mucho respeto de todos los unos con los otros y las otras, y de saber arrimar el hombro cuando cualquiera lo necesite.
No se olviden, beber también es droga, fumar también es droga, somos todos iguales y todos vamos a morir igual, ¿vale? No se olviden.
Que nadie quede afuera, debería ser un decreto, le saco la careta.